Hi, just need to put a brief note at the beginning of this video. I filmed this yesterday. It's kind of one of your typical booktuber videos. I'm bouncing off of Michael K. Vaughan's My Classics TBR video, where he did his Classics TBR. I'll tell about that in the main part of the video. But in the meantime, in between filming that and now, Michael has decided to take a step back from BookTube. There's been unfortunately, what was an escalating debate, argument over monetization kind of going around here. People very impassioned on both sides. Unfortunately, I don't think we've seen much videos from Steve Donahue lately, probably as a result. So I can only assume sort of hurt feelings or disappointment, definitely disappointment. Michael expresses in his video of how the tenor of the thing is gone. It's just this weird thing of we make public videos to kind of talk and have discussions with each other, like exchanging videos or exchanging comments in the videos, and unfortunately that gets kind of complicated. Are we having a private discussion between friends? Are we having a public discussion in front of an audience, and an audience that will take one side or will take another side? It's like I really enjoy Steve Donahue. I really enjoy Matt Wall. I've watched his videos from the beginning. He's a big squarey fella, and I enjoy that. And he gets really worked up about stuff. Steve also gets worked up about it, and they both can rub people the wrong way. But it's gotten, yeah, unfortunately, as things can go on the internet, things can kind of turn sour. And that happens here is like kind of our little bit of booktube. It happens here as easily as it happens elsewhere. So yeah, Michael's taken a step back from booktube at the moment. This is just like, I totally respect his decision to do that. You got to feel right about the place that you're doing stuff. If things rankle, it makes it really hard to want to continue on. And so in some ways, I think there's a necessary, you fall in love. I definitely fell in love with booktube, but you kind of have to go through okay, now I need to get kind of realistic, and there's definitely the warts and the not great sides of booktube. And if it's not good, if it is too crappy, then you just need you need to sort of say, like, this isn't worth it for me. Or you come back to it with kind of a different approach, or a different mental, like, okay, this is where I am actually, and I've kind of experienced some of the good and some of the bad about it. Yeah, and Michael is definitely one of the good of that. If you're watching this, Mike, it's like I'm so happy that you came to booktube and that you shared your goofy charm and just kind of your all the awesome videos and conversation that you've started, and the community that you've built. Your own side of booktube that is unique and separate, and that it obviously is appealed to a ton of people. So I didn't want to just shelve this video, because this was just a little bit of me going, hey, I really liked Mike's video, and this is my response to it, which is what booktube, I think what the best part of booktube can be about. I don't know if it's the best video that could result from it, but it's that kind of feeling, which I'd like to reflect back to Mike, so that hopefully he would take it into his calculations of whether this is worth it to him. Because, as I think is for the 99% of everybody here, you do it because it's fun. And if it's not fun, yeah, then it's time to move on. All right. That said, let's get into the video. Hello. I have been inspired by Michael K. Vaughan, the most dapperly dressed booktuber that I think I I know and watch regularly. Thus, the very dapper hat. That's about as the first most gigantic level of dapper I do. I actually do own some button up shirts. There may be a tie somewhere, but this is about as close as you're going to get with minimal effort. And I think Michael K. Vaughan would endorse minimal effort for for my Classics TBR. Yes, Michael K. Vaughan has done a Classics TBR, a very relaxed Classics TBR, which is I think what appealed to me about this, which is he kind of searched about for like what are classics that I have around that I should really get to. And so he kind of made a list of them. And then he said at the end, and so I'll get to them, when I get to them. And now for Michael, that is because he has so many reading projects that he does that he is just drowning in the thing. For myself, I am that strictly is I'm a mood reader, and I will get to these classics when I feel like it or when I can kind of slot them in. So yeah, that said, let's do some very relaxed classic TBR listing here. I'll start off with Ovid, the erotic poems by Ovid. It's the only Ovid that I actually own, and it would be like a worthy one to get through. I think it's one of these things of I'll do this. It's translated by Peter Green. I'll get through this one. I like reading poems out loud, sort of like, I can read out one a day, and I can kind of slowly work my way through this. Actually, I think this might be longer poems, so it might be like a couple of pages or a page a day, and I'll get through this one eventually, however long it takes. Then from that, I can, Ovid. I like Catullus. I've read some Propertius just lately, and I like my classic poets. Really kind of just talking about kind of the very just kind of day-to-day mundanity of what's going up with them and their girlfriends. I don't know if that actually this falls into that, but I figured, oh, what the heck, it's good to have mistaken assumptions about something so you accidentally try something that maybe you wouldn't try otherwise. So yeah, first on the list is the erotic poems by Ovid. I'll go from there to somebody I definitely know. This is Rudyard Kipling. I just finished, last Rudyard Kipling I read I think in this year, I can't remember if it was this year or the last year, was Captains Courageous. And I always really enjoy Rudyard Kipling's in prose. Poetry, I kind of tried. It wasn't really my thing, but Rudyard Kipling, a really, really amazing storyteller, prose stylist. I've really enjoyed his work. So I will definitely, this is like, the Jungle Book. The Jungle Books is definitely his most famous work, and I've never actually read it. I don't think watching the Disney version counts. Oh, the multiple Disney versions count. So yeah, I'll definitely have to try me some the Jungle Books by Rudyard Kipling. Next is a retry for me. Well, this is an author where I read one of their books in university and I really enjoyed it. And then I did a kind of a more, not really a buddy read with Brian at Bookish, but a side-by-side read. And I read Cousin Bet by Balzac. And I had a negative reaction to that. And I always feel super bad about that because I did a somewhat ranty video on, well, I don't like this book. And it was like, Brian really likes Balzac. And it's one of those things of like, okay, I've had one book and I really liked it. I remember really liking it. I think it was the Wild Ass's Skin. I really remember enjoying that one. And then Cousin Bet, which that was one of those, like a clash of the author's sensibility with my sensibility. It wasn't like it was a badly written book. It was just, did not get along. So I figured I would try him again, and I'm going to try Lost Illusions by Balzac at some point. This is always that thing. At some point I will. And Brian, if you're watching, I promise I'll try it. And if I get through the first chapter and I feel that rage monster going on again, I'll just do the sensible thing and DNF it this time. So yeah, Balzac, Lost Illusions. Next up, I will try. Okay, well, classics of the 20th century. The one to do, I guess, would be Ulysses by James Joyce. I've actually taken a run or two at this before and always kind of bounced off. I think it is going to be one of these books I need to kind of embrace. I know with some books I'm able to kind of embrace the, you know what? I'm just going to let this wash over me. I'm going to let this wash over me. I'm only going to get 2% of it, if that. And that's fine. And that's fine. And I think that's how I'll go into this. And you know, the valuable thing with doing a read like that is sometimes if you can kind of let it wash over you a one time and you go, oh, okay, I actually enjoyed that enough that you can then go back and then, you know, maybe 4%, 6%, you know, like that. Or I might let it wash over me once and go, and it kept on going out to sea there. So, yeah, James Joyce's Ulysses. You know, if I'm going to truly be a pretentious classic snob, I should really get James Joyce's Ulysses under my belt. Under my belt, you know. Now that I've got Proust under there, it's like a. I think the hat helps. I think the hat helps, Michael. It's funny. Michael is able to be such a kind of a regular kind of, you know, guy's guy kind of thing, but somehow he can do that with wearing this hat. I don't think I can. I don't think I can. In connection with James Joyce, there's a really what's considered, I think, one of the really great biographies out there is of James Joyce, and that's Richard Ellmann's biography of James Joyce. So this might be one of these. I don't know if I would kind of co-read them together, or you know, which order I should do them in. I'm not quite sure. Should I read this first and then read this? Maybe that would be the way to go. That's one of those kind of struggles. It's like, you know, do you read a biography of an author you're interested in reading, or is it gonna be one of those things of like, if I haven't read James Joyce's work, then why am I going to care about his fiction? Or what happens if I read the fiction and I hate it, and then like, will I want to read the biography? Chicken and egg there. So yeah. Richard Ellmann's biography of James Joyce, which actually I think this Ulysses has a afterword by Richard Ellmann in it. It's one of those actual rare cases where they've got a classic where they didn't put a gigantic introduction at the beginning for me to ignore. They put that at the end, which is I wish more people did that, because I very rarely read introductions of the classics, because they always just assume you've read the classic already and kind of spoil your experience for reading it if you actually make the mistake of reading it. But the thing is, I never go back to the introductions after I've read the work. Whereas if it's an afterword, maybe I'll read the afterword on this one if I get to the end of it. That would be the good question. The next one is, one of these kind of classics that, you know, you hear about all the time, but I've never actually tried, which is 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. And this is translated by Gregory Rabassa. Okay, here's a weird thing. I've owned this forever as like one of those, I picked it up going like, oh, that's one of those classics, I should pick it up. The weird thing is that at the someone has put their name in it. And the name, I don't know if it'll focus, is G.W. Vaughan. So Michael K. Vaughan. Is there a G.W. Vaughan in your life, Michael? Do I have their book? I bought it legally at a secondhand bookstore, but yeah, just one of those weird little connections of 100 Years of Solitude. One of these ones that I should, you know, it's one of these things as a bookish person kicking around the literary world you hear about. And maybe I should give it a try. The second to last for me is Colette, The Tender Shoot, which this is a collection of short stories translated by Antonia White. And I've tried Colette in the past, and I've never kind of grasped onto her. I found her, I think, I can't remember if there was like so much description. There's something that bored me. Something that really bored me about Colette, but I don't know if that was when I tried it, I just was young and dumb and couldn't focus. So it's one of those ones I happen to have it in my library, so I thought, okay, I'll go back to it and give it a try again. Read a short story and see if see if it actually gets me. I think I'm being summoned, but I've got one more book, and then I can break off. And then finally, an actual fairly new addition to a chunky addition to my classics, my meager classics collection, is the complete essays by Michael Montaigne, which I picked up at the free library. So this is completely free. The only investment I need to make in it is to read this big sucker. It is gigantic. But it's Montaigne. He was in 1572. Montaigne retired to his states in order to devote himself to leisure, reading, and thinking. There he wrote his constantly expanding essays, inspired by ideas he found in the books contained in his library and from his own experience. So a booktuber before his time, but also one of the great, I think, considered one of the great kind of originators of the personal essay, that thing that we do in video form, in much, at least I do, in a much more debased form now. It's a gigantic book. Much like Colette's short stories, I have a tendency to focus on novels or things that are like long length, like having to kind of start anew again and anew again and anew again is a muscle that I don't have particularly great. I think this is another book where I want to kind of dip in and out of, maybe not dip, maybe kind of just work my way through. I'll have to see. Sometimes dipping is better because you can skip ahead, go back. If I find the early essays are hard going, I should maybe try going ahead a bit and try and find, some of the real keepers. Actually, maybe to help me in that, I've got another collection of Montaigne's essays. This obviously a very abridged one by two different translators. This one is translated by M.A. Screech, from Saved by the Bell, and this one is M. Cohen. A lot of the translators all do those initials at the beginning of their name, I guess, to efface them. I am but the humble vessel through which you will gain entry to classics from other languages. That's my final one. I have to go because I'm going to go watch Better Call Saul. Take off the hat and go watch Better Call Saul. But thank you, Michael. This is my extremely relaxed, and I'll get to it when I get to it, collection of classics for me to just have a little focus on, and just to share with all yous folks out there. All right, I've been Jay. More videos later.